Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining Afro-Vegan Society for this session of the Dump Dairy Workshop Series. I am so pleased to have one of my favorite people in the whole world with us today to discuss the topic of dairy. JoVonna Johnson-Cooke is owner and co-founder of MaituFoods LLC, a vegan meal delivery service and vegan nutrition education hub. Through MaituFoods, she is working to develop culturally appropriate and accessible educational materials that highlight the benefit of healthy nutrition through a vegan diet. The MaituFoods Mother's Meal Program works to provide women, especially those of modest means households, with the knowledge and guidance to achieve a healthy pregnancy and optimal postpartum recovery through a vegan meal and nutrition program. The overall mission of MaituFoods is to honor the art of food rituals and to serve humanity in a way that promotes the least harm and the most good for people, animals, and the environment. And JoVonna is also executive director of Awali Veganic Homestead and Resource Center, which we will be talking about as well. Thank you so much. Welcome. And I am so happy to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation. As always, I'm always looking forward to our conversation.
As always, right? So a lot of people who are tuning in might actually recognize you because I bring you in on stuff that I'm doing whenever possible because you are just such a delight and so smart, and people will figure that out over the course of
So you
this
think, yeah.
conversation.
I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I know you think I'm a delight.
Oh, and everybody else who knows you. So let's just keep it real. Oh my gosh. Every time I talk to somebody who knows you, they're like, "Oh, JoVonna?" I'm like, "Yeah, JoVonna. I'm cool too, though. I mean, Brenda, like, can we talk about me?"
Brother,
Oh, no.
we're all looking to you. We're all looking to you.
Well, I have some questions that I came up with that just kind of cover your work, your experiences, both professional and personal. So I'm just going to jump right in. What motivated you to be a part of the Mothers Against Dairy campaign?
That's interesting because I was approached by Ashley Caps when she was
Right.
initiating it. She told me that she had this idea that she was getting ready to do this campaign, Mothers Against Dairy. And she just asked, would you be willing to, just submit something talking about your experience as a mother and just how you feel about, the dairy industry and like how that it has impacted your mothering. And I was like, no problem, whatever you need, because um, with my first son, he came in like with allergies, not that we would have it anyway, but allergies to dairy, to soy, and to these other things. So it was, it wasn't even like a negotiation, but, and plus we've always been vegan, but just, I had the experience of being a mother against dairy, just specifically from my son, but by virtue of being a vegan as well. So it was a fit. And so I said, I would be open to doing it. That's how I really got involved with the campaign. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful campaign. I love just engaging with all the stories of these moms from every different, race and ethnicity and socioeconomic background, all with this same message.
Yeah. It was
So
brilliant. It was a brilliant concept, brilliant campaign. And it's
it
good to just
was.
see it still continuing to go after it's been about at least 5 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
yeah,
it's still going.
it's still going, and that it still has full steam behind it. So
It is. So folks should definitely check out the Mothers Against Dairy campaign and just, you know, um, engage with people's stories and their personal experiences.
and
S-
the beauty I think too of this campaign that I like is that she's actually really dealing with mothers. It's not like we have just celebrities promoting this message. It's not like
Mm,
there are people who are just activists that are vegan activists that are promoting this. She's actually, finding mothers and allowing them to tell their stories. So it makes it so much more relatable. So
yes.
like I really, really appreciate that because, so often what happens is we get campaigns and it's centered around, celebrities and personalities. And so it's like, in a sense, it's a bit far removed. from
Absolutely.
everyday people. So I really, appreciate how, like, I don't know if the word would be grassroots this is, but just how it includes just everyday moms who are, just so happen to also be against dairy, against, the exploitation of animals for sustenance for their families. So, yeah, I
Right.
really appreciate that.
Me too. I love it. So, have you in your own personal life had any experiences or challenges with consuming dairy products?
Health wise or otherwise?
Yes.
I, as a kid, I had really, really bad allergies. I had asthma and I had bronchitis, but it was attributed to everything but my diet. And then as I got older and I removed all of these things from my diet, I removed dairy, I removed eggs, I removed all these things from my diet, I realized that I didn't have bronchitis anymore, didn't have
Mm,
asthma anymore, didn't have
wow.
migraines anymore. So yeah, I was a little kid, like, 10, 11 years old with migraines. And it
Mm,
was all from what I was consuming. And when those things left my diet, then so did these ailments that I grew up with, all throughout my adolescence, thinking that I just like, was a sickly child, but it was me, just having reaction. My body's, trying to deny it, but me, just because of, how I grew up, still constantly consuming. And then there was an experience with my son when he was real young. He was 2 when he went to a like a daycare,
mm,
and somebody didn't get the memo
mm-hmm.
that he was
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to consume milk because he had an allergy. And yeah, so seeing, ugh, and that was horrible, because this is my 2-year-old child and his response and his reactions to it. I won't
Mm.
go into graphic detail of everything that happened, but a large part of it was just his body breaking out in sores, open
Oh
sores.
my goodness.
So I've had experiences, in that sense that, we stay very much away from it, at all costs. So just for us, how it shows up is having that experience. I mean, health wise, just was another like impetus to not include it at all. Let alone for us the spiritual implications and the just I mean philosophical
Mm-hmm.
ideologies that we have around consuming anything from anything living. So yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered recently that I used to have terrible acne. And it started preteen age and it went all the way through until I went dairy free. And then like suddenly my face just cleared up, you
Like
know?
magically, right?
Yeah, it just magically cleared up. Yeah, so like so many of us have these stories of these health ailments that we just thought like, oh, that's just how my health is. That's just,
Right.
I just have poor health, have bad skin, I have, respiratory issues, not even realizing that there's a direct connection between the dairy products and these ailments. It's really something else.
And you see it, it becomes it's really difficult when you see it in children because
Yeah.
children don't, they most often not don't have a say in their diets. So especially in our community, and you see children that are just like plagued with eczema
Mhm.
everywhere from head
Mhm.
to toe. And I mean you can't obviously know the specifics of everyone's individual condition, but more often than not, like, coming from more than likely them drinking milk, or
Yeah.
consuming dairy. And if they could just eliminate that from their diet, all of that. Because, I've seen it where it's severe, severe,
Yeah.
severe, severe eczema,
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
and no one is making the connection for them in their lives. Certainly not the physicians who work,
Oh,
very much in tandem with the food industry, dairy industry, to say like, hey, the eczema could probably be caused by and cured if you, eliminate dairy from your diet. So
right.
yeah,
Exactly. So, the more we get this information out there, maybe folks will try it out, just like kind of ditch dairy for 30 days completely, no cheating, and just see how, I mean, even before the 30 days is up, you're going to see so many differences in your health and things that you never even attributed to dairy will start to clear up. So, um, so, how did you start? What's the story behind you starting to provide these plant-based lunches at the schools as MaituFoods?
Ooh, this story, right? This is the story. So I was pregnant with my son, and we were looking for ways for me to be able to essentially contribute to our household, but still, be around to be, you know, at home with my son,
Mm-hmm.
without having to, go out for work or having to leave him in anyone else's care. And I'd always been into like health and nutrition, and worked in the food industry. But myself, as with my diet, I was always, plant-based, even though when I was working in the industry, I was exposed to all kinds of different things. And so there was a need in our community at a school for a lunch program. I didn't have one. And it was a school that I had already taught at and that we had already been farming at.
Oh.
And so we pitched them the idea of doing a vegan lunch program, even though everybody at the school wasn't vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And like we went in for I think it was like we went in for like the first day or two. When we came in with the lunches, everybody was like, ugh. So we went in with like 2 students. By the end of the day, we had the whole school plus the preschool at the bottom, because they were seeing the food that was coming in, and they were like, oh man, I want my kid to have that. Or the kids were just like, I want that for lunch. They were pushing
Wow.
aside the sandwiches and things. So, and it just grew from there. Just really the community support. Without the community, MaituFoods wouldn't be, what it is at all. And so from doing that one school, when the students grew up and they branched out to different schools, the schools would have me come to serve at those schools as well. So really essentially following the students where they were going. And then daycare opportunities opened up, and then it got into private, like families of the students were like, man, I mean, you do such a great job at the school. How would you feel about preparing meals for the families?
Wow.
Yeah, mind you, this is just me. It's just me and Eugene at the time. And and I wasn't driving, because I hadn't even learned to drive yet until like, when my son was like 3 years old. And so here I am now, a new mother, and we're doing school lunches for schools and daycares, and now we're starting to do them for families. And it's just really just been word of mouth. And from that point, once the word got out that we were doing a vegan lunch program, because other than, I don't think at the time that we opened or started doing meals, there weren't vegan lunch programs like prominent in Atlanta like that, except for, I know one other school that was a private school through the Hebrews, Soul Vegetarian, and all of them, they had a
Oh,
school.
right. Mm-hmm.
So they, of course, did vegan lunches, but that was if you went to, their school. So it wasn't like you had the opportunity to have the food delivered to your house or so. Yeah, that's how we got started, with just, one school, a couple of students, and it just grew from there. And we just kept it going over the years. So, and expanding to like our mother's program. So yeah.
Right. And that's so inspiring. And it really is the way that things go. I mean,
Right.
a few people stumble across vegan food, and next thing you know, like everybody's like, I want this.
Right.
And there's this perception, especially in our community, that people won't eat that. People won't want that. And I'm sure you have found that to be anything but the
Yeah.
truth.
It's an error. It's not correct. It's not. People want good food, and they not only do they want good food, they want like consideration in the food that they eat. And they may not know that on the front end, but once they get it, then it's like an aha, right? Because they may even be resistant to it in the beginning, like, I don't know about all that. But once they get it and they feel the care and the consideration, and they also know that it's something that they're a part of and they had a choice in, right? They chose to reach out. They chose to say, I want to try it. Then it becomes a whole nother experience. Then they want to be a part of it, and it's something that they're open to. So, I mean, again, without community work, none of this moves, none of this works.
Absolutely.
And people really just want to be a part of their life experience, and food is not exempt from it. And so,
Food is one of the main things that people want to be a part of.
thing, right? but I mean, just how things work now, when you think about the food industry, people are not like a part of it. There's
No.
especially not a part of like what's really going on. Because if they were, I think we would probably have a lot more, vegans in the world if they
Yeah,
knew what's actually going on, right? And they were a
absolutely.
parcel of it. Because people don't. I don't think people really have an understanding of the degree of exploitation,
Oh,
of the
no.
degree of abuse.
Mm-mm.
It's just something that's been handed over to them, and they buy into it because it's like, well, they haven't been educated on other options or been
Right.
exposed to other options. So, but I think that if people knew, you know,
If people knew
I think
and
that
they had another option,
and they had
then
another
they would
option, and
choose
there's
another.
so many other options, right?
Right.
There's so many
Exactly.
options, right? But it
So
takes the work, like like what you're doing, and God willing, what we're doing, to like open people up to those possibilities. To
that's
see
right. And
that this
and
is
that's
what.
why it's such important work. I mean, the community-based activism does not get the credit that it deserves, especially when you're talking about, communities, low income Black and brown communities. It, like community-based activism is what reaches people,
Right.
and I think that there's just it's just such important work. So I thank you so much for doing that work, because I know that it has not been easy. You don't even have to say
But I
it.
must, you know what I mean? That's the thing, because
Yes.
like, and I know that you can feel me on this. It's like, even though it's not easy, it's extremely tedious, but it's like it must be done.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we must do it. What else? What else would we be doing, right?
Right.
It's not even
Exactly.
like it's after a while it doesn't become a choice anymore. It's almost like from somewhere it's like a command. Even if the command is coming internally, like this is what must be done.
Mm-hmm.
For me to fulfill what it is that I'm here to do. And it really is that big to me. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it's not a futile thing. It's not like, oh, this is something that I stumbled into. It's a serious thing. It's a serious thing. Not just getting the message out, but just being actively engaged with our community around like how and what we're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Important, for so many
Absolutely.
reasons. For so many reasons.
Really is. And we'll be talking about some of those reasons, I'm sure, over the course of this conversation. Can you walk us through like a typical meal that you would prepare for the students?
Oh wow. There's been so many over the years, but let me see, what do the children really, really like? Of course they always like things like, vegan mac and cheese.
Mm.
So we would because of the standards of like the industry, so you always have your protein. So we would do like a vegan mac and cheese. If we're doing kind of like a barbecue thing, we would do that with like baked beans.
Mm.
We'd have collard greens. Because we try to keep things like familiar to the children, things that they would get in their at home,
Mm-hmm.
things that can also be fun. So we would do meals like that. Of course, we have vegan pizza days, vegan pizza with salad, pasta dishes,
Ooh.
lasagna. I mean, these the children, they get like we're not doing like sandwiches and corn dogs and things. Although occasionally we may do a corn dog, but I mean, try to elevate it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting collard greens. I mean, they're eating.
Yeah.
Like they're
Well,
eating well.
well, because we also want to incorporate the foods that grow, that we grow, and that grow in their area. So
Mm.
yeah, collard greens, I mean, corn dishes, okra. But the okra, that's not always a really good.
Right.
It's a hit and miss. It's a hit and miss. But like we try to introduce them to like new things, so it wouldn't be foreign to have a eggplant dish. But how we would do it was we would do like a biryani. So the eggplant would be
Mm.
chopped up into a rice dish, right, with chickpeas, and so it's a medley. And we try to hit all different kinds of cultures, from Indian food to Mexican food to
Mm.
Italian food to African food. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, I mean, I try to, because I love food, Brenda. So and for me, it's also like I'm in my craft. So
Mhm.
me serving lunch to children, even to the mothers in the community, it's me essentially sharing with them what I'm learning and what I've been exposed to. So as it comes to me, like I give it to them.
Mm.
So like, if I travel to some place and I have, like, some really great, like say, for instance, really great Ethiopian food, then I guarantee you the next week on the menu, they're going to
Mm.
have like Mr. Wat, or you know what I mean? They're going to have
Yes.
that in their meal. We may not do, the injera, but, we'll do it with a baguette. We'll do, so
Nice.
yeah, I really, it's really important just to like let especially children know that the plant-based world is like, it's so full, and it can be so creative, and it's as far as your imagination will take you, so I mean, and I'm constantly in cookbooks, I'm constantly like
Mm.
watching shows, I'm constantly training, I'm constantly interfacing with other chefs to figure out like what's what they're doing, and then running it by my kids too, because they're like the hardest critics. And, what would be, what do they think would be acceptable to the children? But the children also, they let me know. They will let me know if it's not, if it's not popping. They'll
Yeah,
eat
they
it.
don't hold back.
And it's not always just like they just won't eat it. They will let me know. Like they will tell me,
Hmm.
even when it comes to like special requests. So they let me know because all the time, all the time. But I love it. I love it. I wouldn't.
Hmm.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. I love the experience of being able to introduce children to plant-based living, plant-based diet
Mm.
in this way. It's a joy. It's a great experience.
It really is. It really is. Some of my favorite times in doing this work has been when I've been able to work with young children. So they're just so open and just
Hey,
ready for information, and so accepting of new information in a way that a lot of times older folks may not be. So it
they don't
really
have all
was
the
a joy. Absolutely. So these federal nutrition guidelines, right?
those.
They include dairy products as a necessary component of a healthy diet. Did you have any particular experiences in the school systems with these guidelines?
I mean, if you're in the school system, you're not. I mean, you're going to have those experiences at every with every interaction. I mean, from summer camps where you go into communities and they're getting grants from the USDA, or even schools who are getting grants for the like meal supplementation. The a stipulation of them receiving funds is they have to like have certain foods
Mm,
from the USDA.
mm.
So that includes not only just like your packaged foods, like your packaged oatmeal and your potato chips, and all these name brand kind of like mainstream snacks and things, but dairy. I mean, I've gone into schools and opened up the refrigerators, and it's like stacked from the top to the bottom with those. Remember when we were in school, they gave us those little milk cartons.
Yeah, the little
They have
cartons.
little cartons, and they're just full up, Brenda.
Mm.
And it's they in order to receive their funds, they have to have this. And even if the kids don't drink them, they still have to take them.
Wow.
So I mean, and just I mean, even with the latest school that we serve lunch to, I mean, every day when lunch is placed out in front of the students, before they even put the food that we bring onto the plates, what is sitting there next to their plates is a cup of milk.
Mm.
And so, I mean, again, whether they drink it or not, it's there.
Mm.
So even with the vegan lunch program, they have milk. Not that we bring in, but that
Of course not.
they have to give to the children because that's a part of the regulations. It's part of the standard. If you want this money, the children have to be served milk. It's a part of the guidelines and what it is, like their pyramid and what the children have to have. Like
Mm.
they're supposed to eat.
And it's such a shame because, like, I remember when I was a kid, dairy used to tear me up. So, I mean,
Everybody,
stomach ache and, like, have to go to the bathroom. And,
not even
that's right. It's so stressful. Oh, headaches. I mean, just, and you're in school. So you're supposed to be trying to learn. and somebody just told you had to drink milk, and if you do, now you're going to have all these gastrointestinal issues as you're continuing on with your day. And
And,
it's just, oh, go ahead.
and think about the children who are allergic.
Mm,
But then you have the social pressure because especially if you're like, 4 years old, 5 years old, and everybody else in your class at lunchtime is drinking milk.
mm-hmm.
Like it register. How does it register to you? Like, I'm not supposed to drink this. Like my mom says, don't drink this because I have an allergy. But you're like, but everybody else in my class is doing it. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it's just
Right.
like, really, especially when milk is so unnecessary.
Exactly.
It's like to force it upon children. It's like, come on, and for what? For the sake of industry? Because it's not for the
Exactly.
sake of health.
No.
Like
And
that's
I
a huge
mean,
myth.
we
Not
know
even a myth,
that.
a huge lie. What it is. It's for the sake of industry.
Yep.
And so we are willing to poison our children and exploit life just for industry, for cost.
Mm.
Like how twisted is that?
So
You know?
twisted. Absolutely.
Right. And to start that with our children.
Ugh.
I remember those days, man. I remember school days like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I when I grew up, I got free lunch. I got free lunch and I got free breakfast.
Yep.
So it's right there for you to grab. If
Yep.
not grab, it's right there on your tray when you get your tray. You know.
So, JoVonna, you've also provided plant-based meals to pregnant and postpartum women. What advice would you give to someone who's pregnant or a new parent who thinks that dairy is necessary for the health of the baby?
It's not. No, it's a lie. No. The thing about it is that there's so many resources to have a healthy pregnancy, to have a healthy postpartum period with plants, with food, and proper nutrition
Mm,
that don't involve any consumption of any animal products at all. And the information is not only out there, but it's been out there for so long. And so, like my advice would be to, especially to really study nutrition,
mm,
really study health when you're pregnant, because just for your own sake, for your own health, and just for the health of the life that you're bringing into the world, right? And to just make sure that you're getting all that you need is important, not only for supplementation, but to have the knowledge of all of the things that you need while you're pregnant.
mhm.
So, I wish I would, if I wasn't in having a brain lapse moment, I could name off like some different books and things. Um, like herbal for the childbearing year, I believe is what it's called. There's so many. Um, the fourth trimester, books just about just proper nutrition you know, during pregnancy, with a plant-based diet,
Mhm.
and for children. Um, Maybe it's something that I can give you like afterwards to like kind of slide in for,
Oh, okay.
for people that may be interested in that information, because we have a whole library of books that actually
Oh,
deal specifically with plant-based nutrition while you're pregnant and postpartum. Um,
okay.
that I wish I knew all the titles off the top of my head right now. I feel like I'm doing a major disservice.
Then that will give us an opportunity to reconnect with people to get that book list from you, and just like put it on the site, put it on the website, and make sure that people have access to that information. So I would really appreciate that. Actually, I mean, I want to get those books too. Like, can you tell us about Owali?
Ooh, Awali. As I'm sitting here at Awali, looking out at Awali, looking at the farm, Awali is our veganic homestead. It's also our resource center, really our educational center. It's a space that we are creating and have created for community to come, not just to learn about how to transition or live fully in a plant-based or vegan lifestyle, but to receive practical tools in making that happen. Whether it's through growing your own food or learning how to grow your own food,
Mm,
to see seed saving, through taking classes on, I mean, various things. We have like nature walks. We have the opportunity just to come and like even come and just be in community with other people that are of the same mind, or kind of on the same trajectory that you're wanting to go to. So Awali is really just our way of creating space for people to come into and walk in this lifestyle, but to have the experience, a full nature experience, while doing it. Be just fully immersed in the lifestyle, in nature, even while being in the city. That's Awali, I think, in a nutshell. Maybe I went. I mean, because to me, it's like it's so huge. You know what I mean? Because it's so like kind of like almost dreamy, like in its aim. Maybe not always in its the actual things that are happening, but in its aim. The aim is to really just open a way for people to have this experience in its fullness, and receive the benefits of it in its fullness, and to know that like we deserve it. We deserve to have the best, nutrition. We deserve to have food sovereignty and food access. We deserve to have the choice and have a say in our nutrition, in our food, and in the abundance that life has. Like we deserve to have that experience and to be a part of that, no matter where we are, no matter what station in life we are, no matter what we look like. So, yeah.
And I've been to Awali, and I can tell you, like, it does not feel like the city. I mean,
You gotta come back to that.
Oh, I do. Like you turn onto that dirt path and you start driving and it's just like the city what? Like where? It just kind of embraces you. And I know a part of that is just the energy of what y'all are doing there. And then just like the trees just pull you in, and I want to actually take some real time, because I was just kind of in and out for a talk. And so I wasn't even able to spend much time with you and the family and just, in that space. But I want to take some time and just really come down there and have the full Awali experience, because
we want you to have the experience, but we also want you to come down and teach.
Oh, is that right? Y'all trying to put me to work.
And do your thing too. No,
Mm-hmm.
because what you do and how you're able to bring community together around this work, like I'm astonished and I'm inspired by it. And so we want a piece of that. We want you to come down here and let the people meet you and get exposed to the work that you do, and then the way that you do it. I don't think I know. I can't think of another person that I know that has been able in the way that you have around, a vegan lifestyle, and get the numbers that you get and the engagement that you get. Like that's major, Brenda. So yeah, we want you as what is that? A teacher in residence, a professional.
Oh, is that right? Well,
Yeah.
see, the people who are watching this are hearing this at the same time I'm hearing it. So
No,
this is
that's not true. That's not true.
I was not aware I would have to work, but no, I would
See,
be happy.
the nature of Awali is that it's work, but I mean, you also, after the work is done, you have the space to just let Awali do what it does for you, So, I mean, yeah, you maybe a couple hours of work, and then the rest is your time to just be with it, be with the Awali.
You gonna cook for me, JoVonna? Is that?
I will cook for you.
Okay.
I will cook for you.
All right. Well then,
everybody, but I will cook just for you.
that sounds like a dream. I can't wait to.
It's funny because it's like, I think because of the number of years that I've been doing this work, it's a given. It's not even like, it's an expectation that everybody has, that when they come here, they're going to get food. And like, even though it's work, I love that that's what people associate me with. You know what I mean? I was in
Mm-hmm.
the health food store the other day, and the one of the cashiers was just like, JoVonna, she's like, I want to come to your house because I know you're gonna just feed me. And this woman has never had my food.
Oh,
You know what
wow.
I'm saying? And I only see her in the grocery store whenever I go to the grocery store. But the fact that she knows that, you know what I mean? And she associates me with that,
Mm,
like, that's, ugh, that
mm,
means everything to me, that, people have that association that when they come into the presence of, whether it's Grow Where You Are or Wally or MaituFoods, that they're going to be fed, they're going to
mm.
be nourished. And so, Brenda, yes, when you come, I will feed you, and a Wally will feed you. So for sure. And I hope that that's the experience that you know everyone who comes to this space, that they when they leave here, they feel fed, they
Mm,
feel nourished, whether it's through information or literal food. Because I mean, we do are that they get something that maybe they didn't have before they came, and they're,
mm,
they're full from it. They're re-energized from it, so that they can go out, and do their work or whatever it is that it's on them to do. But
mm,
that somehow they get a spark, they get inspiration to just carry things forward.
mm.
We need it in this time.
Oh,
We
yes.
need it. We need it.
And that kind of goes into my next question, which is, we as a community have like all these challenges, just a whole range of challenges that have to do with, food access and land sovereignty and even like a lack of a connection with the land itself, and with the kinds of homesteading, you know, um, like things that you are recreating there at Owale. And so I was wondering, what are some of those challenges that you think that a place like Owale could solve?
Um, mm, I think first and foremost is just by our very existence, we allow people to see that this is possible. Not only is it possible, but we're not we're not like a this is not new. What we're doing is
Mm,
not new. You know what I mean? We're not like we didn't we're essentially following a blueprint that was set from a long time ago. Which
mm,
is what it is that our stories are not told. You know what I mean? But Black folks, people of color, indigenous people, but we've been homesteading. You know what I mean? We've
mhm.
like our connection with the land is like it's how we've been able to survive. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of our disparities, a lot of like the issues that we have, health wise and otherwise, even if it's like social conditions and environmental conditions, is because we have bought into the idea that we are disconnected from the land.
Mm,
And we don't see the images of people that look like us doing this work. You know what I mean?
yes.
And so just I think the even just a Wally, the potential of a Wally, um, and people seeing it allows them to see that this does exist.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And it doesn't exist in just this bubble here in this place. Like we're all over. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And sometimes we're all over, and sometimes it's not seen because we have to be quiet because of the nature of the place that we live in,
Mhm.
nature of this country. We have to be quiet about our work because as soon as it gets out there, then there are definitely attacks to shut it down.
Mm.
Um, but like I think what Awali can show people is just the possibilities and the potentials.
Yeah, and in the research that I've been doing, I have actually come across some other folks who I do want to reach out to because they may be doing similar things to you. So I'll definitely keep you posted about that, and and make sure that those connections are made.
We got a
Um,
conference. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put it. It's a lot of work. But we need to have it, if not a conference. I mean, now we live in the days of Zoom, you know what I mean?
right,
All get
right.
together and just, talk about what we got going on and, link up,
Yeah.
link up.
Yeah, that's important.
Right.
And maybe even Skillshare, or, like just learn by example and that kind of thing. It would be like so important. So yeah, I'll get on that amongst all the other things.
Amongst, right. Just put it on checklist. You'll get to it. We'll get to it eventually.
So, we're gonna wrap this up. This has been an amazing conversation, and thank you so much for being a part of this. How can people find your work? How can they support your work? Where are you?
Okay, so right now, when it comes to a Wally, we're still working on the website, but I finally got a social handle.
Oh, okay.
At Grow a Wally. So that's Grow AWALI on Instagram. That's all you're gonna get right now. Just Instagram. I don't know if I can. Maybe eventually I'll venture over to things like Facebook and Twitter, or I'll have to do that. But then there's also at MaituFoods. So at MAITU Foods.
Okay.
That's also the website, www.maitufoods.com. And of course, Grow Where You Are, at Grow Where You Are, and growwhereyouare.farm.
.farm.
It is .farm.
Got it.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that is gonna do it for us. Thank you again so much, JoVonna. Oh my gosh, it's just always a pleasure.
Anytime, Brenda, anytime you call me, I'm like, let's do it.
Yes.
I have to.
And I appreciate that. And thank you to the folks who have tuned in to Afro-Vegan Society's Dump Dairy workshops. Hopefully you learned a lot and were entertained by our, shenanigans. And, stay tuned, tune in for more, because we will definitely be reconnecting with JoVonna again and again. Thank you, and take care.